Australians love property. A recent survey found that over 50% of Australians believe that property was a safer investment than shares, gold, or even cash. When you want to buy an investment property, there's almost too much information available, and everybody wants to help. The real estate agent thinks it's a great idea, your mortgage broker is happy to help, your accountant gets to talk to you about negative gearing, and Bunnings has their fingers crossed you're planning to renovate. However, what happens when you're approaching retirement? You're going to have some pretty big questions, and finding answers can be difficult. Should you hold? Should you sell? Do you pay down your debt or contribute to super? Do you downsize your home or keep it as an investment? Will your rental income be enough? Or if you have to sell, how do you reduce your capital gains tax? The answers to these questions can vary a lot based on your personal situation. If you'd like some help, you can book in a free chat with us below. But to get you started, I thought I'd cover the top 3 things property investors need to consider to maximize their retirement. There is a day in the future where everything is going to change. It's the day you stop working. It's the day your employment income stops and you need to start living off of the income from your investments, your super, or the government. While you're working and accumulating, your goal has been to grow your wealth. You buy assets that will go up in value in an attempt to increase your net worth. If you buy an investment property and it costs you money to hold every month, well, who cares? Because there's negative gearing tax benefits. However, after you retire, your goals change. Now you need income. Loan repayments and negative cash flow isn't really going to work, and the tax advantages that were once maybe beneficial to you might not be there anymore. Which brings me to your first major consideration when transitioning to retirement with an investment property: cash flow. You need to estimate and predict what your cash flow will look like in retirement in order to plan and make decisions leading up to retirement. We can help with this, but the short version is, what income will your properties and superannuation produce, and what are your expenses going to be? What's it going to cost you to live, and what sort of lifestyle are you looking for? A simplified example might look something like this. Let's say you have an investment property worth $1 million with no debt. That makes you 3% net income each year, or $30,000. And you have $250,000 in super, which makes 4% net income, or $10,000 per year. So that's an annual passive income of $40,000. Working at your expenses might be a little bit more tricky, but if you're unsure, you might find it easier to break it down to these 3 categories. Your core expenses: food, transport, and other necessities. Let's say that's $35,000 per year. Your comfort expenses, like the nice to have things, eating out, buying gifts for the grandkids, call that $25,000 per year. And luxuries. So this is your holiday budget, or buying that camper van and driving around Australia. Let's call that $20,000 per year, giving you a required income in retirement of $80,000 per year, which is where a lot of property investors find themselves with an issue. You have enough assets, but in this case, you're looking at a negative $40,000 per year in cash flow. So what do? Well, the answer I get from most property investors is use available cash, and then superannuation, and then sell an investment property later when more cash is needed, which is fine, but it might not be the best option. If you know you have a cash flow issue, and you know you're going to have to sell a property in the future, you can optimize your situation. By dictating exactly when you sell a property, you can potentially reduce your capital gains tax, increase your cash flow, avoid overexposure to a single asset class, and minimize liquidity issues that come with property, and just generally be better off by tens of thousands of dollars. This is how understanding your cash flow can help you make major decisions, which brings me to my next consideration: debt. The scenario I was just talking about might have been overly simplified because I didn't have any liabilities in the mix. Chances are, if you have property, you have debt. I've spoken to plenty of property investors who are confused about debt and retirement. Yes, generally the goal is to pay off your debt before or around retirement. There are some reasons that you might want to hold debt in retirement, but generally speaking, it's just a drain on your cash flow. A common question we get is, if you have surplus income leading up to retirement, should you use that money to pay down debt or contribute it to super? There are pros and cons to each of these options, which will take me too long to go through in detail, but the short version is this. Putting money on a loan or in an offset account gives you a guaranteed return, the interest you're not paying. Whereas putting money into super can potentially be a tax deduction on the contribution. You can get growth or income similar to or greater than the loan interest. Your personal situation will really help be the deciding factor in this one, but get some advice if you're unsure. A few other comments around debt. If you think you're going to need to refinance at any stage leading up to retirement, do it sooner rather than later. Remember, you don't need to pay off all of your debt before you retire. You can sell assets to pay it off, you can use super to pay it off. In fact, paying it off prior to retirement could have a negative impact on your overall position. Which brings me to my final topic, every property owner's favorite topic, tax. Every property investor loves to save on tax. Negative gearing, depreciation schedules, and getting a large tax refund at tax time. However, I also know you have this dread in the back of your mind that one day you'll have to sell a property and there's going to be this large capital gains tax bill waiting for you. Paying a small amount of tax in the short term can make a large difference in retirement and the long term. Let me give you some facts around tax and strategy. Capital gains gets added to your income tax return in the year that you sell the asset. If you own it in your personal name, you'll pay marginal tax rates, which means it can push you up a tax bracket and you can pay up to 46% on the dollar. Superannuation in accumulation has a tax rate of 15%. Contributing funds to super in the same year can reduce some of that tax from 46% down to 15%. There are age limits on how long after retirement you're able to contribute to super and get a tax deduction. You also might not be aware, when you retire, you move your superannuation into pension phase, and in this phase you pay 0% tax. Which brings us all the way back to our cash flow. In retirement, if you generate your income via investments in your personal name, you still need to pay tax at your marginal tax rate. $50,000 of income means you might only get $40,000 in your pocket. So a couple needs $100,000 of passive income to get $80,000 in that original example. Those exact same investments but owned inside super, you'd pay 0% in tax. That's a $600,000 savings for a couple over 30 years. I promise you there are things you can be doing today to save yourself tax in retirement. Now the last thing I will say is, this isn't about property being good or bad in retirement. Real estate has some great characteristics like steady income, however it's also less liquid than other assets. It's really about finding the right combination of assets and the strategy to suit your retirement. Next steps. Okay, so you've watched this video and you're still not sure what you should be doing. I would say the first thing you want to do is have a look at that cash flow situation, look at your income, look at your expenses. If you do need help, book in a free chat using the links below. We do have that other ebook on this page, so download that. It's called 5 Common Mistakes That May Ruin Your Retirement. Hope this video has given you some good food for thought. We do have a few other videos on our YouTube channel which might be of interest, and also check out our website for upcoming events.